We love collapse stories. We picture a great city in flames, columns toppled, libraries emptied, a map with one color suddenly erased. The message is always the same. An empire falls and a civilization dies. It's a powerful story because it's clean. A before and after, a single dramatic ending. But history is messier than the doom story. Sometimes a capital is sacked and the people don't disappear. Sometimes a dynasty ends and the language, the law, the faith, and the habits of everyday life keep going, migrating, recombining, surviving inside new borders. And sometimes the collapse we imagine is really something else. A government that can't pay its soldiers anymore, or a tax system that breaks, or a center that loses control of distant provinces. The flag changes, the story changes. But the deeper civilization machinery keeps turning. So tonight, instead of asking why do civilizations collapse, we're going to ask a stranger question. Why don't some collapse when everything says they should? In the year 626, a farmer soldier stands on the walls of Constantinople. Below him, a coalition army gathers, Avars and Slavs, and across the water, Persian forces. The empire is exhausted by plague and war. If this city falls, it feels like Rome's last light goes out. He hears bells. He sees icons carried along the ramparts. He believes heaven itself is coming to defend the walls. And in a way, that belief is part of the mechanism. Sometimes, survival begins as a story people tell themselves. When scholars talk about collapse, they usually mean a rapid loss of complexity. Governments that can't tax, can't coordinate, can't defend, and can't maintain institutions. That's different from shrinking borders, losing a war, or a slow decline. A regime can collapse, while a civilization continues. So in this episode, we'll track continuity, not size. Networks, not flags. The things that outlast a dynasty: legal habits, religious institutions, literate culture, trade routes, and the ability to reorganize after disaster. 4 cases, 4 near deaths. Byzantium under siege. China in rebellion and invasion. The Islamic world after Baghdad. Britain after civil war and regicide. And after each one, we'll add a new tool to a simple question. What does resilience actually cost? The farmer soldier grips his spear as the siege drums carry over the water. He's not a senator, he's not a general. He's the person empires are made of, taxed, drafted, and told to believe. The story people tell later is that Constantinople survives because the Virgin protects the city. Processions, hymns, miracles. The empire is saved by faith. The faith mattered, but not because it made walls thicker. By the 7th century, the Eastern Roman Empire is in a grinding crisis. Plague, war with Persia, raids and migration. Then Arab armies take Syria and Egypt, 2 of the richest provinces. Some historians argue the state loses an enormous share of its revenue and population. Others think the losses, while severe, were lower. Either way, the old imperial machine is breaking. And yet, there's no clean collapse. No sudden dark age across the whole eastern Mediterranean. Instead, the empire changes shape. It reorganizes what remains into military administrative districts, what later sources call themes. These aren't just provinces, they're survival units. Local commanders handle defense, taxation, and even justice. Power moves outward because the center can't carry the load anymore. There's debate about exactly how this begins. Some reconstructions tie it to early reforms, others argue it emerges gradually, piece by piece. But the effect is clear. The empire stops trying to be the old Roman machine and becomes something leaner. The popular image of soldier farmers is also simpler than reality. The army is a patchwork: locals, professionals, mercenaries. Land and service connect in some places, but not as one universal template. And even when soldiers are settled, the obligation remains heavy. The myth says money saved them with a trick. The mechanism is fiscal reorganization: new taxes, new extraction, cost control. And through it all, the empire uses legitimacy like a weapon. Public rituals unify the city. Icons and hymns aren't just religion, they're coordination. The farmer-soldier survives. Years later, he's settled in a district that expects him to report for service. The price of survival is not peace, it's obligation. And decentralization has a shadow. It can save you and then threaten you. Leaders later split powerful commands to curb rebellions. Resilience becomes balance: empower the provinces, but not enough to break the state. This survival comes with trade-offs: heavy levies, regional over-mighty commanders, internal conflict when doctrine becomes political glue. Byzantium endures by shrinking, reorganizing, and turning belief into cohesion. Survival is often a controlled burn. Tool 1: Administrative flexibility. When the old center can't govern, a resilient system builds new centers without losing its identity. But decentralization has a dark side. So what happens when you delegate power and the delegates don't give it back? In 755, a scholar official hears rumors outside Luoyang. Rebel banners, armies on the roads. He has spent his life believing order can be written into existence. Then the city burns. Later he will write, "The nation is shattered, but mountains and rivers endure." The myth is simple. China collapses when dynasties fall. The Tang falls, the Song falls, end of story. But China is a masterclass in continuity through rupture. The An Lushan rebellion is catastrophic. The court survives by empowering regional military commissioners, the Jiadusha. In the short term, this saves the dynasty. In the long term, it changes the empire. Regional commanders become semi-autonomous. Some posts turn hereditary in practice. The center regains ground in some places, but the ecology has shifted. Decades later, reforms try to pull authority back. Sources describe attempts, like the 819 recentralization effort, though scholars debate how effective it was. Eventually, the Tang ends. China fragments. And yet, the civilizational infrastructure doesn't vanish with the dynasty. Exams, scholar culture, administrative habit, the language of legitimacy. Then, another near death, 1127, Kaifeng falls. The emperor is taken. But the court flees south and rebuilds in Linan. The south is an economic engine. Rice, canals, markets, shipping. The southern Song leans into trade, commercial taxation, and a new base of wealth. It buys time with diplomacy, sometimes even tribute, choosing survival over pride. And when conquerors rule parts of China, they often adopt Chinese administrative practices. Bureaucracy becomes a bridge. It turns conquest into governance. The scholar grows old under shifting flags. But when he teaches his child to write, the script doesn't change. Continuity does not mean mercy. Rebellion and invasion can kill on a massive scale, and historians still debate the true numbers. China survives repeated regime breaks through administrative memory, relocation, and a cultural system that can legitimize new centers of power. Sometimes, an empire survives by moving. Tool 2. Administrative memory. If you preserve records, legal routines, and training systems, then even when the roof collapses, you can rebuild the house. But what if the roof doesn't just collapse? What if it is burned down on purpose? In 1258, a jurist in Baghdad copies a legal text in a madrasa. Outside, people whisper a name like a curse. Ulegu. The Mongols arrive. The caliph is killed. The city is sacked. Later stories say the river ran red with blood and black with ink. The myth says this is the end of the Abbasids, the end of a golden age, the end of Islamic intellectual life. The mechanism is harder and more interesting. Baghdad's destruction is real. It kills people and shatters institutions. But civilization is not one city. In 1260, at Ain Jalut, Mamluk forces halt Mongol expansion into Egypt. Cairo and Damascus survive as power centers. Meanwhile, conquerors begin adapting. Markets reopen. Endowments fund schools. Administrators keep systems running. Scholars reorganize and relocate. New centers take on the work Baghdad once symbolized. This happens because law and scholarship are carried by networks. Teachers, manuscripts, students, institutions spread across cities. The jurist flees. He reaches Cairo. He teaches again. Then, in 1295, Ghazan converts to Islam. Historians debate motives, faith, politics, legitimacy. But the result is easy to see. Conquerors are incorporated into existing norms. The universal caliphate doesn't return as one unified state. Fragmentation deepens. But the legal and cultural framework endures, carried by institutions that can survive without a single throne. The cost is accommodation, with conquerors, with fragmentation, with new political realities. The Islamic world survives the destruction of its symbolic center through decentralized scholar networks and institutional continuity across successor states. A city can die. A network can survive. Tool 3. Networks over capitals. When knowledge, law, and identity are spread across many cities, no single sack can erase them. Now for our last case, what happens when a threat isn't outside, but inside? In 1642, a London print seller pins pamphlets in his shop window. The streets are loud with arguments. Parliament, king, religion, taxes, rights. Then the arguments become gunfire. The myth says Britain's rise was inevitable, superior institutions, a straight line to modern democracy, and that the glorious revolution was bloodless and clean. The mechanism is bargaining and building machinery that makes conflict less terminal. The Civil War is a crisis of legitimacy. In 1649, Charles I is executed and the monarchy is abolished. That is regime collapse. But political civilization doesn't vanish, it mutates. The protectorate is military rule. Parliaments are dissolved, dissent is suppressed. The print seller learns a hard lesson. Revolutions can censor too. After Cromwell, the monarchy returns, but the problem remains. How do you prevent permanent civil war? In 1688, another rupture. James II is deposed. William and Mary rule under conditions set by Parliament. The Bill of Rights limits the monarch's ability to suspend laws and levy money alone. This isn't destiny, it's negotiation. Parties emerge as conflict containers, imperfect, elite-driven, but stabilizing. Then comes the fiscal shift, money. A state that can't reliably tax or borrow will fail in expensive wars. So Parliament expands excise and customs. In 1694, the Bank of England helps create public credit at scale. The print seller hears merchants talk about the funds. He buys a small share. Now ordinary investors are tied to the state's survival. But this resilience is entangled with empire. Overseas trade, colonial extraction, slavery, even bloodless revolution is not bloodless everywhere. Violence erupts in Ireland and Scotland. Stability is purchased with exclusion, repression, and profit taken far from London. Britain's resilience comes from institutionalized bargaining and fiscal innovation, at the cost of internal violence and global exploitation. Some stability is built on distant pain. So why don't some civilizations collapse? Not because they're blessed, not because they're better, and not because history picked them to win. They survive because they can bend without breaking. Across 4 worlds, the same toolkit continues to appear. Administrative flexibility, administrative memory, legitimacy production, fiscal resilience, networks over capitals, elite bargaining, relocation and diversification, incorporation of conquerors. And every tool has a price. Decentralization can breed warlords. Fiscal capacity can mean crushing taxation. Legitimacy can harden into persecution. And survival can be purchased through exploitation. Our farmer soldier still walks beneath domes in Constantinople. Our scholar still writes in the southern capital. Our jurist teaches in Cairo. Our print seller counts profits from public credit and wonders what it costs to build a state that can't die. So the question isn't only, how did they survive? It's also, what did they become so that they could? The civilizations that endure are often the ones willing to transform. Thank you for watching Critical Scrolls. If you found this episode useful, consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. In our next episode, We'll look at how the Vatican has endured across centuries of political collapse and change.